Hi, everyone. I'm so thrilled to have you back. I'm so excited you're all back and joining me again for the third YouTube live video. This is going to be really an exciting morning to help you to really start putting these principles that we've been learning into practice. And today I'm really going to be focusing on chapter 6 and 7 and focusing on how to find your perfect you. I just want to say thank you to all of you for all your feedback. I have loved the photos, the videos, people trying to get through the snow to get to the groups. I love the fact that there's so many of you that are doing this in a group. And this is so important because one of the biggest things about the perfect you, besides you understanding yourself, is the fact that you are going to start really recognizing your need to interact with others. You know, it's not just about you in this world. It's about you in this world connecting with others and forming deep, meaningful connections and relationships. That is really a huge and integral part of finding your perfect you. One of the most natural out blossomings, if you want to say, if you want to call it that, of stepping into your perfect you is the recognition of the need to reach out to others, to connect with others, to support others, to help others, to love others. It also brings a tremendous sense of humility, understanding the perfect you, a tremendous sense of humility in that you recognize the power of your mind to control your thoughts and the impact of your thoughts on others through what you say and what you do. So, a massive part of the perfect you is understanding how to self regulate. So, in chapters 1, 2, and 3, we basically learned about what the perfect you is. Chapters 4 and 5 last week, I did the science behind the perfect you. And this week, we're going to look at the actual profile and the perfect you checklist. I encourage all of you to get my book. Get my books. There's the Perfect You book. There's the DVD and workbook to go with it. Get your own. These are textbooks. These are not self-help tools. These are textbooks for life. Get your own copy. Don't lend it to anyone. Keep it next to your bed. You will keep on going back to this information. Get them for gifts for others. Get book clubs going after this month is finished. Even when we go into the next book, get book clubs going. Go back to these concepts. Don't forget to follow me on YouTube Live as well, and subscribe to my YouTube channel so that you can keep getting information there. Subscribe to my podcast. This week I did a podcast on what we're going to be discussing today, so on the UQ. So I'm giving you so much support. If you're not following me on social media, follow me on social media. Get your life together because you play such a unique role. You in the world have so much to contribute. And when we're all operating in our perfect you, it changes and transforms not only you, but the world that we live in. We each play a role, and that's what I'm trying to help us find and understand. Okay, so you can join at any time. If this is the first time that you're jumping in on this, no problem. You can still get the book. You can go to our bookstore. It's still on sale for the rest of this month for less than 35%. And as I said, there's the DVD and the workbook as well. And also, I am so excited that next month, let me announce next month's book club right now. We are going to be doing Think, Learn, Succeed over the next 2 months. So this is packed with information. So we're going to take 2 months to study this book. So you can go and get this book at our store, drleaf.com, and wherever books are sold. There's also the Kindle version. So you can start getting that book and preparing for that book. But you still got this week and next week to study the perfect you. And as I go through the year, I will cross-reference back to the different books to show you how to use all these books in your life on an ongoing basis. This year is just kickstarting you on a journey for the rest of your life. These are fantastic life skills to get you into functioning how you're supposed to function in your perfect you. I love this concept. And I love the fact that there is this profile available for you. Let me tell you a little bit of the background about why I developed this profile. I practiced clinically for 25 years, and I worked with people with severe learning disabilities, traumas, dementias, traumatic brain injuries, chronic traumatic encephalopathy, which is what you get when you have repeated injury to your head, various different neurological diseases, people in very traumatic situations, from people that have been exposed to like extreme trauma, poverty, socioeconomic, all kinds of situations. And I tell you this to tell you that the first thing that I would do with everyone that I worked with, whether it was individually, whether it was in family therapy, whether it was in a group, whether it was in a lecture, was I would start with this concept of identity, helping people to understand the perfect way that they think, feel, and choose. One of the reasons I did this was because I saw the conflict in people and the loss of hope in people and the loss of just recognizing the sense of eternity in you, the sense of power that you have inside of you, your unique contribution, and the lack of hope that comes along with this lack of identity and conflict. I was trained to diagnose people's problems. So they would come to me and I would do a whole bunch of tests and I would tell them what they couldn't do and then help them to fix this on an educational, social, emotional level. So let me get to the point. These people would walk into my office or I'd go into these trainings and I would see the conflict and the trauma. And my first thing was, wow, if I've got to go and do a whole bunch more diagnostic tests to tell them more things that they can't do, they're going to be even more depressed and even more anxious. So I decided early on in my research, early on in my career, to start really understanding and studying how to help people understand how they uniquely think, feel, and choose. I wanted people to find their default mode, the unique way that is their default wired for love mode of thinking. My reasoning was, if you know how you actually think, feel, and choose, if you get an indication of the blueprint of your identity or perfect you nature, then it's so much easier to deal with the issues of life, to deal with the learning problem, to deal with the trauma, to deal with that struggle that you're going through, to deal with those toxic habits that you've formed, to help you to recognize and realize that who you are now in the midst of the pain and the trauma and the difficulties is not really who you are. That you can stand back, you can actually find out who you are, and then you can use the who you are to fix up these things inside your life. So that's what I did. And I developed the profile. And initially, the profile was really long. It took me quite a few hours to administer and quite a few hours to go through with the patients and do reports and so on. But the power behind it, it transformed the way that I practiced. And then I had clinics all around South Africa, and it transformed the way that my therapists that worked with me practiced. The feedback was unbelievable. So what I decided to do was to take this very long profile that had over 1,000 questions and took me up to 7 hours to administer over a series of sessions and so on and interpret. And I simplified it, broke it up into different profiles, put those into simplified versions into my books and online programs. And the unique qualitative assessment profile, which is what we're going to be discussing today, is part of that process. So the one big profile that I had, I broke up into different profiles. And in this book, The Perfect You, which says includes the unique qualitative assessment tool, the UQ, that is part of the profile that I would do with my patients. Simplified, streamlined to help you to then experience that. You see, I don't want you to think that you have to be a doctor or a PhD or a clinician of some sort to improve your mental health or to help others. I want you to realize the power of your unique way that you think. And when you step in that unique way of thinking, your mental health is improving. And then you can reach out and help others. You know, when you are in a bad place and you reach out and help others, you're stepping into your perfect you, and you are increasing your own healing and your own ability and resilience to manage issues by 68%. Who wouldn't want to improve how they are functioning mentally by 68%? And here's how you do it. Get to know who you are. Develop this and apply these skills and techniques that I'm teaching you this year. Let's band together. Let's come together and intentionally and deliberately change this world that we are living in. Let's bring love back into this world. Let's really show people what love looks like. And it begins with you and I understanding what love looks like in our own life. So the perfect you, the UQ part of the profile, helps you understand what love looks like in your life. So let's dive into the book. Let's go to chapter 6, and it's on page 109 in the book. So chapter 6, and it says profiling the perfect you. So the science chapters I spoke about last week, I apologize, are the foundations that this profile is based on. So I've spent 30 years researching, 25 years in clinical practice. I have constantly improved this profile. There are hundreds of thousands of people around the world that have used the different versions of this profile and used the one that we're specifically going to talk about today. Let me start by just reading these two quotes that are there because they are amazing and beautiful. The first one is Ralph Waldo Emerson, who is an essayist and poet, was, "Insist on yourself, never imitate." We really are in a world that encourages us to imitate others to succeed. You make a lousy someone else. You make an amazing you. Getting to know your perfect you and your UQ is going to help you not be an imitator, which will destroy your mental health. It'll help you be you. The second quote, "Differences are not intended to separate, to alienate. We are different precisely in order to realize our need of one another." Archbishop Desmond Tutu from South Africa, my homeland. That is a beautiful quote. Differences are not meant to alienate. You are all different. We know that. And our differences are beautiful. They're not value judgments. So they're not meant to alienate. As Bishop Desmond Tutu says, we are different precisely in order to realize our need of one another. I started off today saying that one of the main reasons I want you to do the UQ and get into the perfect you is, and get yourself this book and really grab these concepts and apply them in your life, is because you will start developing a level of humility, and that humility will make you recognize the power that you have within you is not just to get wound up in an individualistic me, myself, and I quagmire. It is to take the beautiful, brilliant you and reach out and to others and enhance your perfect you by connecting into your community, making a difference, building those deep personal relationships and doing things, getting things changed within community. We need to connect with others. Okay, so in the previous chapters, I'm just reading a couple of things now on page 109. In the previous chapters, I described what the perfect you is, how it works, and how important it is to unlock it. In this chapter, you will be filling in the tool of the perfect you, the unique qualitative UQ assessment, which is a developmental profile. I love that it's developmental. You are constantly growing. Every experience that you experience every single day of your life is enhancing your perfect you. You are a blueprint in the process of development. Therefore, you're not fixed in time. Your intelligence is fluid. Your wisdom is fluid. Your blueprint is fluid. As you develop and learn more about yourself and connect with others, you are going to be growing into this organic, developmental, perfect you. And the process of this UQ and the information in the book and this profile today is kickstarting that process. So therefore, you will see, if you've read the chapters, I said to you in the book that you don't just do this once, do this every year. I got my patients to get themselves a diary, just any kind of diary, doesn't matter what it is, and do this on an annual basis. Once a year, take a few months of the year, do this, redo the profile, because each year you're going to learn more things. One of the most powerful things about this profile is that there are no wrong answers, and there is no time limit. It is looking at your uniqueness in a very qualitative way. So there's no time limit and there's no wrong answer. It is a process of self-exploration. It is a journey of discovery, of discovering what you kind of know already, but it's bringing it to light. It's helping you find what's inside of you so that you can reach out and use that and grow that by helping others. I say begin, because understanding your perfect you is an ongoing organic process that covers your lifespan. Okay, so before we start, and we're going to do a question together, I want to go to page 110, and if you've got the book, read along with me, and I'm going to read and explain what the UQ is and isn't. I want to define it for you. Before I read it, just the overarching concept is that there's been three basic movements in human behavior in trying to understand who we are. You know, that deep question, that intense question that we ask in life. Who are we? Where do we come from? Why are we here? In a sense, the perfect you and the UQ are helping you to discover that purpose. So what this is not, what the UQ is not, is it's not an IQ. The IQ was the first movement in this kind of human behavior concept of understanding who we are. The IQ movement measures a person based on a few tests, and it gives you a number. But it's unscientific and it's fixed, and you're not fixed. The next movement was the personality profile movement, where there's loads of personality profiles. And I'm not saying that you're not going to get any information from the IQ or the personality profile movement. What I'm trying to tell you is that they are very, very limited in understanding the unique complexity of humanity. You're not a number as per the IQ movement. You're not a category as per the personality movement. You are so much more. So the UQ and the other profile, which, by the way, I will be covering in next month's book club, because the other part of the profile is in this book, is looking at what it falls under, what we call the geodesic movement, which is looking at the diversity of uniqueness, the complexity of uniqueness. So that's what the UQ falls under. You're not a number. You're not a category. You're a brilliant, complex, outstanding human being. So let's just read this section, because I really want to emphasize this and make sure you get this. Okay, so it's page 110. You can read along with me, and I'll stop in between and explain. But before you start, let us briefly look at what this UQ profile is not and why. The UQ profile is not an IQ test, since a numerical score based on answers to a limited number of questions is not an indication of your potential. It is merely a snapshot in time, while in actual fact, you are constantly changing. Very important. You're not a snapshot in time. You're constantly changing through the experiences of life, the good and the bad. This is your story, and your story shapes you. You don't want to deny or suppress your story. You want to integrate and reconceptualize your story and get the best out of your story so that you can improve the world that you live in. UQ profile is also not a personality test. You are not a category. You are not part of a group. You are your own category and your own group. And in being your own category, in your own group, you come alongside others and you enhance other skills. So by doing your UQ, envy and jealousy moves out of your life, because you recognize that you are your own category. You don't have to be like someone else to succeed. You need to celebrate someone else. When you celebrate someone else, you will succeed more. Envy and jealousy will destroy your ability to see your perfect you and give you brain damage. By getting in your perfect you, you are enhancing and developing your brain health and therefore your body health. You are getting into brain health. You're building your brain. You're bringing brain and body health by understanding your UQ, which means your mental health will improve as well. Okay, so you are not a category. You are type U. Nor is the UQ profile the popular EQ, emotional quotient, or SQ, social quotient, because emotions and social interactions are complex, unlimited, and varying. Nothing is predictable. This is what uniqueness means. This is what free will means. Complex and varying and change is part and parcel of life. So therefore, a number doesn't account for that, nor does a category. But a complex, ongoing understanding of yourself, that accounts for it. A lot of the problems in identity, which are foundational to a lot of problems in the world today, come from the fact that people are trying to be a number, trying to be a category, because they're being told that if you're not this or that, you're not going to succeed, or you need to be this to succeed. That's not science. That's not scripture. That's not correct spiritual approach to life. I'm telling you, as a scientist and a believer in God, that you are varying, that you are complex, and that you are developing all the time. So, emotions, social interactions, cognition, intellect, these are part of a complex whole, and as such cannot be reduced to a number or a category, and they can only find their true expression in wholeness. Last week I spoke about the fact in the scientific section in the philosophy, I spoke about materialism, which is the focus on the physical, which is the focus on the brain producing the mind, and the mind being like a mistake, which takes free will and complexity away from humanity. IQ, SQ, personality profiles fall under that category. They are reduced to a materialistic approach, seeing you not in your complexity, but seeing you as a biological robot. This UQ recognizes that you are not a biological robot, that you are brilliant, unique, varying, growing, changing, complex, and brilliant. Okay, so you cannot be reduced. The IQ and personality profile movement, these approaches exclude humanity's causal power of free will. Free will has effect. That's what causal power means. And the fact that we are made in God's unlimited image. You have unlimited potential. And now this is really cool because I go into, in the last paragraph, I talk about the Greek philosopher Aristotle. And Aristotle basically had a concept called potentia. And let me jump down to that paragraph and let me just quickly read this and explain it because it's beautiful. The Greek philosopher Aristotle explained it in this way. We have potentia, which are objective tendencies, to use Heisenberg's quantum physics description. I talk about Heisenberg in the last chapter, in chapter 6 and 7. I talk chapter 7 specifically, and it's basically the principle of uncertainty, which means basically goes along with free will, your ability to choose. So what this means is that, if you carry on reading, this enables us to express ourselves and are the result of our choices. So Aristotle's talking about the fact that we have free will and we have choice and we have endless, limitless potential. You are made in the image of an endless, limitless potential God. You have a spirit of power, not a spirit of fear. And this spirit of power has the ability to make endless potential choices within wisdom. As you get into your perfect you are stepping into this kind of wisdom. If I read the last sentence on page 110, no one knows what you're going to choose or what your actuality is going to be, because as you choose, you create realities in your life, or actualities. These potential are unlimited, reading on page 111 at the top, and immeasurable. Only you and God know them until you choose to make a potential into an actual choice that impacts your world. The UQ profile recognizes and honors this Aristotelian potentia in you, this unlimitless brilliance that God has placed within you. Okay, so the way that this profile works is that there are 7 metacognitive modules, which I explain on page 111, which I explained in depth in chapter 6 and 7. So based on brain science and research, what I have done is found that when you're thinking and feeling and choosing, thinking, feeling, and choosing goes through basically a process. And this thinking in your brain and in how your mind and brain work is that you have these 7 metacognitive modules, which we spoke about last week. So you can refer back to chapter 6 and to chapter 5 and 6 to help you, chapter 4 and 5 to help you understand this. But basically, you've got the questionnaire follows these 7 metacognitive modules, and these 7 metacognitive modules are raw computational capacities. big word. What it means very simplistically is that in order for you to think a thought out correctly, in order for you to think through something and make a choice, which is then going to lead to what you say and what you do, you draw on computational capacities in your mind. You draw on raw computational capacities, and we group these into 7 different parts. And all 7 are always involved. You're not just one, you are a combination of all 7. The differences between each of us comes in how we use these 7 different computational capacities, which I call metacognitive modules of thought. So you can kind of think of it like this. A thought has 7 parts to it. It incorporates all 7 parts, and these 7 parts are what you're evaluating in the UQ. And as you are going through the questions, you are learning to understand how you use these raw computational capacities of thought in your unique way. And as you go through life, through the experiences of life, you are getting these 7 that are part of your perfect you design, that are reflected in your brain structure. You are developing them to work more and more and more efficiently. That is why I call this book a blueprint of your perfection. It's a blueprint for your identity. A blueprint means it's a plan in development. Okay, so basically, I'm reading on page 111, second last paragraph, and then we're going to dive into a question. In fact, these modules are all essential processing skills. So these 7 metacognitive modules are all essential parts of you thinking, feeling, and choosing. That's what I mean by a processing skill. So you can't use one, you have to use all 7. When we don't use them correctly, our thinking is not going to be what it should. We're not going to have cognitive clarity or wisdom. We're going to make wrong choices. We're going to step out of love, out of our perfect you, and into fear and imperfect you and mental ill health. And we're going to have a negative impact on ourselves and others. That is why we need to understand what it feels like to be in the perfect you, which is what the UQ will help you do. So all these modules are essential processing skills that make up your UQ profile. So do not make the mistake of focusing on one and thinking that you are, for example, a visual spatial learner or a logical mathematical learner. You cannot just be one. A thought is processed through all 7. You don't just use one, you use all 7. Okay, very important. This is a reductionist mistake to think that you are just one, visual, spatial, or logical, mathematical. It is coming from the materialistic reductionistic concept that I spoke about last week and that are in chapters 4 and 5. Okay, so it's imperative to grasp that these elements of your perfect you are the raw computational capacities that combine together to reflect you. The accurate reflection of your you-ness, I love that, your you-ness, is the sum of the parts of all 7. So the accurate reflection of your you-ness is the sum of all the parts, all 7, working together in your unique way. This is super exciting because when you understand your way, by celebrating others, as I've already said, you enhance your own and theirs. How is that for a love principle? How is that for a godly principle? Your brain health improves and your mental health improves when you get to know you and you actually celebrate others, which is a natural outpouring of understanding you. Okay, so as you move through this UQ profile, you will become consciously aware of how you specifically use these raw computational capacities. These are probing questions that are designed to help you understand you. So, dig and think deeply before answering. Don't approach this lightly. There's no time limit. Take as long as you want. What you could do is maybe set aside a time each day or a time each week and just do whatever. If you do 1 question, 2, 3, your choice. Enjoy this. Relax. Don't put yourself under pressure because you won't get then out of this profile what you could get out of it. Okay? The more seriously you answer them, the more you will understand yourself. Okay, so you will see how, let's turn over to page 113 and see how the profile works. At the top of page 113, how the profile works. Each set of questions begins with a brief description of the metacognitive module, the raw computational capacity. So it's divided into 7. You use all 7. What are those 7? They are raw computational capacities. What are they called? Metacognitive modules. They're the different parts of thinking. So we've got these 7 metacognitive modules that make up our thinking. The question is broken up into 7 parts, each part's helping you understand. You use all 7. In fact, every single question that you see, you do, but you do it differently to everyone else. And that's what you're discovering, how you use these 7 together and how you are different to someone else. Okay, so each set of questions begins with a brief description of the metacognitive module. This is followed by a set of probing questions for each metacognitive module, focusing on the what, the how, the when, the why of the way you create and store knowledge. Of the way you create your unique perception and how you store that knowledge to reflect your unique perspective and interpretation of life. So you will see these words in each question: the who, the what, the when, the where, the how, why, and how. At the end of each set of questions, so at the end of a metacognitive module, you will see that there is a set of questions. You will see there's an opportunity for you to reflect back on all your answers by writing a summary of all your answers. So you go through one of the metacognitive modules, you go through all the questions, you answer them as deeply as you can, taking as much time as you want. When you come to the end, there is a place where you can then summarize how you use that particular raw computational capacity, metacognitive module, way of thinking, that part of your thinking in your life. Remember, you use all the parts. So when you've done this 7 times, all of it together is reflecting your uniqueness. Okay, so there's no time limit. There's no expiration date on your potential. So take as long as you want. I keep stressing it. Remember, you're not one, you're a combination of everything. Okay, so now let's have a look at Metacognitive Module 1, called the Interpersonal Metacognitive Module, Thinking, Feeling, Choosing. Okay, so remember, the perfect you is how you uniquely think, feel, and choose. 7 metacognitive modules. Metacognitive Module 1 is intrapersonal, thinking, feeling, and choosing. So it's the interpersonal part of thinking, feeling, and choosing. The first metacognitive module is the interpersonal. The brain tissue, and I'm reading from now, page 114, modular area is designed to handle information that deals with the raw computational capacities of. So this front part of your brain is designed to respond to your mind. So as you in intrapersonal, the whole brain is always firing, but the front part of your brain is going to fire a little bit more when you go into what I'm about to read. So when you go into deep thinking, decision making, organizing, focusing, analyzing, and free will, being aware of your range of emotions, controlling and working with your thoughts and emotions, finding ways of expressing your thoughts, being motivated to identify and pursue goals, working independently, being curious about the meaning of life, self-managing, ongoing personal learning and growth, attempting to understand inner experiences, empowering and encouraging others, enjoying thinking strategies, journal writing, and relaxing and self-assessment strategies, understanding your limitations, and assessing and evaluating situations. This is all interpersonal stuff. This is what when we do this stuff, which we all do just differently, we get a lot of activity in the front of our brain. Okay, throughout the whole brain, but a lot of extra firing in the front of our brain, which is good. Okay, so interpersonal thinking enables you to stand outside of yourself and analyze your own thinking, which I call the multiple perspective advantage, and which we're going to talk about a little bit in chapter 7 in a moment. Okay, So while you analyze incoming and existing information, those are the signals of life. So the telephone calls, the life as you wake up in the morning, the incoming signals start. Okay, so while you analyze incoming and existing information, which are memories that you already have, you are going to make decisions about what to think and say and do. This is free will in action. And your whole brain, your whole mind, all these modules are involved. When you get into this deep interpersonal analytical part of thinking, you get more firing in the front of your brain. Okay, so this module, this interpersonal module, is fundamental to introspection, self-knowledge, and the ability to understand your own feelings. We all do it. We all need this. We all do this. We just do it differently. Okay. Subsequently, when you get a handle on this, you are better able to guide your behavior, understand your strengths and weaknesses, imagine concepts, plan activities, and solve problems. Fantastic. This mode of thought also incorporates self-discipline through the process of introspection and decision making. Okay, so let's read the first question. Question 1. So that's the explanation. So every module starts like this, an explanation that's quite in depth, and then you'll have the questions which you then answer. The first few questions you'll see are quite detailed, and then as you flip through the different modules, you'll see they're not as detailed because the first few are there to help you get into the process, to help you understand. So we're just going to do one question. Question number 1, page 114. How do you find yourself introspecting and self-analyzing? So you read it. Read on. Perhaps you have been called introverted and even prone to ruminate on certain issues. Look at these words to help you understand what the essential skill of introspection looks like and feels like. Then I'll give you a bunch of questions: wistful, meditative. Read these slowly. Read these questions very slowly and stop. Like, am I wistful? Yes, I'm wistful. How am I wistful? Am I meditative? When do I meditate? How do I meditate? And so you go on. If you look at the next page, 115, I say, rate yourself in your description. For example, and I give you an example of something that you could write. I tend to ruminate on a lot of things, probably more than half of each day, or 75% of the day. I find something I have read or heard leads to my thinking through all kinds of scenarios in my mind, and I get very pensive. I am often lost in thought. That's just an example of what you could write. Or maybe you'd write this. I only get speculative when I have to complete a task and have to work out how to do it. But I don't spend a lot of time getting self-analytical, maybe only an hour or less a day. See, those are two completely different descriptions. They're going into the kind of depth that I want you to go into. You can go into even more depth. And they're totally different and they're totally correct, both, because it's describing you. You'll see that there's some lines in your book to write. I don't recommend you write in this book. I recommend you get yourself a journal because there aren't enough lines there for you to fill all this information in. So get yourself the journal, as I mentioned. And so you would work through the whole process. It's qualitative, not quantitative. We're not measuring. We're not putting a number on it. It's quantitative. It's qualitative. It's you quality searching through your brain. Okay, now I'd like us to look over to chapter 7. And chapter 7 is on page, a moment here. Take a deep breath while I'm getting to that page. You probably got there before me. This is long. You'll see this chapter is long with all these questions. There we go. Chapter 7 is on page 235. So you've probably done what I've done. You flick through your pages. Well done. So this is a short chapter. It's simple. I'm going to explain it very briefly because it's super easy and it's fantastic to help you to make sure that you get this perfect you thing functioning in your life. So the profile helps you understand, it's developmental, all those things I've said. But one of the things that I have been saying constantly, and that you'll see what the profile's doing, is self-regulation. If you think of it, the kind of questions that are being asked and the things that I have been telling you are teaching you to self-regulate, to stand back and observe your own thinking, to be very aware intentionally and deliberately about what are you thinking, feeling, and choosing. What are you saying? What are you doing? What is the impact of what you're saying and doing on yourself physically and mentally, and on those that you are speaking to, those that you are in relationship with, at work? In other words, we have to learn to, what am I actually telling you? Bring all thoughts into captivity. Self regulate means bringing all thoughts into captivity and renewing your mind. This is what I'm teaching you in the Perfect You and the UQ. And this checklist is just another tool that you can use to help train yourself. When you first read this chapter, I know it's confusing. I know because I've trained so many people how to do this. And I did this with my patients. Everything that I do with you has had clinical trials, clinical application, research behind it. So I'm aware of what can go wrong, and send us your questions, because I can then learn more to improve how I help you understand this in future. So essentially, what the checklist is a way of helping yourself stand outside of yourself and be intentional and deliberate about bringing your thoughts into captivity and renewing your mind. So it's not so complex, even though it's dragged out kind of in this process, in this chapter. And when you first look at it, you might think, how on earth can I do this? Super simple. It's going to take you around about 3 weeks to learn how to do this. So what I have done for you, which I'm so excited about, is I have developed an app called the Switch app, which has been in development for a while now. And some of you may be familiar with my 21-day brain detox, which I know has helped so many. We have hundreds of thousands of people using it. Well, this is the 21-day brain detox on steroids. It is like having individual therapy with me, where I walk you through on an app with the interactive facilities of an app, with Audible, some video, but daily I walk you through the 5 steps on how to be deliberate and intentional about your thinking, feeling, and choosing, about staying in the perfect you, about basically controlling your thought life. So if you use that Switch app along with the concepts of the perfect you, you are going to learn how to really transform your life. So why have I mentioned that now? Well, the checklist, if you want to master anything, and the checklist is something that you want to automatize, you want to make it a habit because you want to do this automatically. You could use the principles in the Switch app, which is coming soon. I'll tell you about that in a moment. It's not ready yet. It'll be ready in just a few short weeks. But you can use the principles of the 21-day detox and the Switch app, which is so powerful, to help you to learn how to do something automatically, to make it a habit. You need to make this checklist in this chapter, in this 7, the Perfect You checklist, a habit. So you need to understand it and you need to practice using it. For something to become a habit, you need to do it over 3 cycles of 21 days. You need to practice it for 3, 6, 9 weeks in a very specific way. Using the Switch app, using 21-day detox, if you've got that, but the Switch app, as I said, is like 21-day detox on steroids, and I recommend you really get that. Is going to help you to internalize this. The Perfect You checklist does the following. It helps you to learn how to renew your mind constantly. It helps you to bring those thoughts into captivity. So it helps you to do all the things that I'm telling you to do in this book. So just have a quick read. Okay, I'm going to read the quote. Niels Bohr, quantum physicist, said, "In the great drama of existence, we ourselves are both actors and spectators." Such an appropriate statement. You are living life, you are the actor, but you are also supposed to be a spectator of what you are doing in your life. How are you thinking? How are you feeling? How are you choosing? Understanding the Perfect You, doing the UQ profile is teaching you to become a spectator and an actor. The checklist is a little checklist that is just a little technique that you can memorize to help you to make sure that you stay an actor and a spectator, staying in your UQ, your Perfect You nature, which is what the Perfect You identifies. So you've got the profile to understand you, the checklist keeps you there. So it's kind of a one-off 3-week practicing using this, and maybe another, as I said, it takes 63 days to build a habit, but once you know it, then you automatically will do this. So it is, in summary, a tool to help you constantly self-regulate, to help you constantly train yourself to do what the UQ is doing. So It's a checklist. Let me read this here. The Perfect You checklist is an extremely handy and simple but powerful lifestyle tool that will help you become more mindful of what you are thinking, feeling, and choosing and saying. So it'll help you become mindful of your Perfect You nature that you've identified in your UQ. You can use this checklist prior to, during, and after the moment of decision making. That's why you need to build it as a network in your brain. And to build something as an automatic network in your brain takes these cycles of 21 days, a minimum of 3. So around about 63 days, which is what I teach you in the 21-day brain detox and the Switch app that's coming soon. Okay, so the quickest way to activate your Perfect You, I'm halfway through the page 235, is to begin by practicing on a daily basis, actively self-regulating your thinking and being aware of your spirit, mind, and body. Okay, so as you do this intentionally and deliberately, you will force your active, conscious, and dynamic non-conscious mind to work together. Okay, so all the things that I teach, this little tool helps you kind of bring it together. It's a self-regulation tool. And without self-regulation, we won't bring thoughts into captivity. We won't renew our mind. Okay, so if you turn over to page 236, I explain the multiple perspective advantage, and I've already mentioned that. Our multiple perspective advantage is our ability to stand outside of ourselves and observe our own thinking. I'm reading on page 236, halfway through the heading multiple perspective advantage. So this happens when we are conscious, intentional, and mindful. It activates the brain's frontal lobe and the internal networks of the mind. So, all throughout my teachings, constantly, I'm always talking about intentional, deliberate self regulation. Chapter 7 is a little tool that helps you get there, helps you then understand your UQ. It'll help you, when you learn this tool, it's going to help you stay in the perfect you. It's going to help you detox, renew your mind, capture the thoughts, etc. So, it's a few little questions that you just have to practice using every day. I mean, you could just carry this book with you, whatever, work out a way that you can just practice. Maybe take one question a day and do one question and get yourself doing one question. And then you can, over a period of these 9 weeks, you can then internalize all these questions. So it's a little extra thing that you have to do. Don't spend more than a couple of minutes a day on it. It's super easy. Let me read the first question. Am I self-aware of what I'm thinking about, feeling, and choosing in my mind and how my body is reacting in this now moment? Okay, so you ask yourself, let me ask you, are you aware, okay, of what you're thinking about? Are you aware of what you're feeling right now, in this now moment? Are you aware of what you're thinking about? Are you aware of what you're feeling? Are you aware of what you're choosing at the moment, right now, as you're listening to me? Focus on your body. Are you aware of how your body's reacting? How do you feel? Calm, peace, maybe a little excited, maybe a little worked up because it's new information, you're challenged. How do you feel in this now moment? Okay, it's a concept. You just got to train yourself to do this. That's what this checklist is. Let's do the second question. Am I intentionally and deliberately using my active self-regulation, my conscious thinking, feeling, and choosing in this now moment? Okay, the first question was, are you aware of how you're thinking, feeling, and choosing now? The second question is, are you being deliberate about bringing that thought into captivity? How deliberate are you? You see, I'm trying to teach you not to just react without thinking. I am trying to teach you to capture the thought, align it with your perfect you nature, align it with God's loving design for who you are, and access God's wisdom. So I'm just teaching you to giving you like a strategy to help you to become more aware of it. That's what chapter 7 does. And then there's a really cool Thanksgiving praise and worship exercise for you to do, a long and a short version, which helps you to tune in to wisdom, tune in to God's love. That's what that little exercise does. Tune into the potential, the limitless, the unlimited potential of God's wisdom and your wisdom. Okay, so now it's time for questions. Let me tell you about the Switch app first. It's on pre-order at the moment. You can go to the show notes of this show, and you'll find how you can pre-order. We have an amazing special starting on Monday. If you pre-order the Switch app is going to transform your life, work with all the stuff, everything that I teach all works together, everything enhancing each other. So you build up this repertoire of tools. It's a toolbox that I'm giving you as a life skill. So the Switch app, if you go to the show notes, you can pre-order. There's a massive special on all the details of how to get this, and there's a free gift that goes with it if you pre-order. This basically is going to start from Monday. So I'm so excited about it because this is transformational. It's what I did in therapy with my patients to help them get the UQ applied, get the perfect you, this checklist, the detoxing, the building the brain, all the things I'm teaching you kind of come together and help you. So it's an undergirding tool that you do. And you know what? It takes like 7 minutes a day to do it. So it's really going to help you learn how to apply all the things I teach. Okay, question time. So we have so many amazing questions. I wish I could answer all of them. As I said, I always categorize them. I read every question, myself and my team. We make decisions about which questions you choose. We acknowledge all your questions in and read every single one, but it's impossible to answer all of them. So I have to categorize and kind of get the gist of the questions and then answer them. What I do in the posts that I put up on Instagram is I try and take some of the concepts of the questions that people are asking and build them into posts as well. And then I also build into my podcasts because the podcasts support this whole year of studying and getting ourselves into good mental health and becoming decent humans like we're supposed to be, loving, kind humans that build connected, meaningful relationships. I also talk about bring your questions and things into in the kind of information that I give you. So I'm doing my best to help you. So you need to do your best. Get these materials, get your own, give them as gifts, get these. We have to improve our world. We have to make changes. And when we stand together, we transform the world. Okay, question 1. How to use the concepts in this book to deal with intrusive thoughts? That's such a fantastic question. Intrusive thoughts. So many people think that this is an illness, OCD, intrusive thoughts. Here's the most wonderful news I'm going to tell you about this question. 95% of people experience intrusive thinking. Pretty much 100%, but 95% comment, according to surveys, will actually own up to it. But pretty much every human, we all have intrusive thoughts. So it's OCD, intrusive thinking, repetitive behaviors is not an illness. Okay, it is something we all do. Where it becomes a problem is where these intrusive thoughts are negative and we get stuck on them, and whatever we think about the most will grow. So if you're thinking about something negative and you keep on and on and on and on thinking about it, you are giving it energy, you are causing genetic expression, you are growing this toxic issue in your brain, which is causing a brain block. It's causing brain damage. It's blocking your perfect you. It starts consuming you. But I'm telling you today that that is not who you are. It is who you have become. If you've wired it in, you can wire it out. So by understanding your perfect you nature and understanding how brilliant you are and stepping into that and stepping back and standing and using the multiple perspective advantage, you can learn to step back and observe those intrusive thoughts, knowing that you're from the UQ, that your perfect you nature is so brilliant. And by getting into who you really are, which is the default mode of functioning, your perfect you is the 99% of who you are, that in those intrusive thoughts are only 1% of your genome. So they're only affecting 1% of who you are, less than 1%. So you stand back and you observe that. You don't let the 1% control you. You control the 1%. Step into your perfect you, get to know your UQ, use the Switch app, use these things to identify the intrusive thoughts and start analyzing them and see, why am I thinking like this? What is this? Where's this coming from? Why am I doing this? What is the root? Don't just let them control you. You control them. An intrusive thought is an indication that something is disrupting your perfect you nature. Something is disrupting your wired for love balance. It could cause anxiety, maybe even depression. Those are just signals that you embrace to help you search and find the solution. Okay, I've done podcasts as well on this. So don't forget to subscribe to my podcast channel where you can listen to lots of these things as well in a little bit more depth, as well as this YouTube channel. Okay, so next question. What is the difference between the UQ, which is the one we've just talked about today in the Perfect You, the unique qualitative assessment profile, and the gift profile? So the gift profile is in this book, which is what we're going to be studying over the next 2 months. Think, Learn, Succeed, my most recent book, which contains the other part of my profile, which is what we're going to discuss next month. So the UQ that we've discussed today is the unique qualitative assessment profile. No number, there's no scoring on it. As I've been saying, it is this long, ongoing process of exploration. No wrong answer, no time limit. Okay? And if you remember in the beginning, I said that I had this very long profile that I did with my patients based on my research and clinical application. It took long, so I split it into 2. So part 1 was this qualitative version, which I would do with my patients and get them to continue on their own. And part 2 was the gift profile. The gift profile is quantitative in that you do get a score, but it is not limiting you. It's not limiting in any way. It is fantastic because it gives you an insight into another angle on your perfect you nature. It's also based on the 7 metacognitive modules. It's also got 7 parts to it, and it's actually questions that you're going to answer quickly, yes or no. And those yes or no questions are basically then scored. Now, there's yes is correct, no is correct, whatever you say is correct. What I'm showing you in the gift profile is how you use your different 7 raw computational capacities in terms of how you learn, how you process. So the 2 together are complementary. The UQ, is exploring in depth how you are developing through life. The gift profile is showing you the bird's eye view of how you actually do this differently to everyone else. So they work together. The one gives you the bird's eye view of how you use the 7 different metacognitive modules, the 7 raw computational capacities, and which then shows you how you learn. So it will improve your communication, it will improve your learning skills, it will improve your functioning at work, it will improve your understanding your UNIS. It's not an IQ, it's not a snapshot in time, it's not a category, it's a description of how you digest information. You see, thinking is a digestive process. When you digest food, it goes through all these different processes and different parts of your body. And until you've gone through all of those, the food has passed through all the different parts of your body. Following that process, only then is food digested and your cells can get the benefit. Same thing with your thinking. As you think, feel, and choose, the qualitative aspect of the UQ, which we've discussed today, helps you to understand that process, understand you, the process of you in the world and developing your UNIS. The gift profile helps you get a bird's eye view of what those 7 look like together. That is why they're complementary and you use them together. So I'm going to go into depth on how to use the gift profile next month. It's a fantastic complement to the UQ. They work together. It was one profile that I split into 2 for the sake of ease. So this week is the qualitative one, exploratory, no time limit, no measuring. The gift, there is a measurement, but the measurement is very freeing. It's not limiting. It's not like an IQ or personality profile. It doesn't give you a number. It doesn't put you in a category. It simply gives you a way of understanding how the numbers, the scoring, gives you an understanding of how you use the 7 in your unique way. Because we all have the 7 different computational capacities, raw computational capacities, or the other word I use for that is the 7 metacognitive modules. We all have all of them. We all use all of them, but we use them differently. So the UQ helps you understand that, and the gift profile helps you see the big picture of that. So the 2 work very nicely together. And as I said, join next month's book club, get the book, look at the show notes to find the details, and we'll be just doing that together in depth next month as well. Okay, so last question. How can I go about giving this to my students and patients? So A lot of people ask us, we have we have doctors, we have counselors, we have teachers, we have so many people approaching us about how to use this in schools. I spent 25 years as part of my as part of my work I didn't just work in clinical practice. I also trained thousands upon thousands of teachers in South Africa and in the United States, working with different schools, working with we're creating different systems. And here's the good news. All these things I'm putting into my books, DVDs, online programs, apps, etc., to help you to be able to apply it. So what you can do is, if you're interested in finding out, we do bulk discounts on the books and DVDs and the online programs and the app, the Switch app. So you can send an email and you'll find that in the show notes to find out how you can get these materials into the hands of your students and into the hands of your patients or the clients that you are working with. The whole idea is that you can facilitate the process. I supply the original research in my materials and all the support through podcasts and YouTube, etc. And for you to use it in your practice, etc., you basically buy the materials and facilitate your clients, patients, students through this process. So if you want to know more, go to the show notes. You can send an email, and we will have our team will direct you in the right direction. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you're getting excited about your perfect you. I hope you're excited about this year where we are getting into understanding the uniqueness of how we think, feel, choose, how to get our mental health where it should be. I hope you're excited about the materials. I hope you're getting these materials for yourself and your friends and getting groups and continuing to read and study these chapters. I hope you're going to enjoy doing the UQ, getting a handle on the perfect you checklist. Go check out the show notes and don't forget to pre-order the Switch app. Get these materials. Follow me on YouTube. Follow me on the podcasts. I'm doing as much as I can to help you to become the person that you really are so that you can connect into the world and contribute to the world and to the community the gift that only you can do, that you can give. You see, there's something that you can do that no one else can do. And while you are not doing it, the whole world is suffering. So get your perfect you under control. Do the UQ, get the books, do this stuff, get into community. It's not just about me, myself, and I. It is about understanding who you are so that you can be a contributing, beautiful human in society. Thank you for joining me today. I look forward to seeing you next week and enjoy doing the UQ profile.